Let's see, what she usually do?
I did roll call, so.
Gotta get a roll call.
Approval of the minutes.
Yeah, need approval of the minutes.
So we're approving the
For
April minutes
April.
since we had a quorum.
You're approving both.
April and May, even though May had no quorum.
Well, I guess May isn't really official, right?
Right.
May is an unofficial, so you don't necessarily have to approve it. They were just submitted for our memory. Just, I guess, a little bit of a conversation.
Well then, right?
Well, I was
Yeah.
here for the April one, so I make a motion to approve the April minutes.
Second.
I asked, I wasn't here for the May when I came.
All in favor of approve the minutes?
Good?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, agenda. We pass that.
Okay. Steve, what do you have for us?
Well, grass was growing really quick for a long time, and last couple of weeks kind of slowed down. You notice parks are pretty nicely maintained, no thatch in the yards. We did make one mowing adjustment to the Betty's ball field. The little people, the little ball players, we were cutting it at 4 inches, and it's too tall for them. So we've lowered our decks down to 3.5, and started mowing it the first day they play. They play on Tuesdays and Thursdays there. So we start mowing it Tuesday morning, and we did for a couple of days after that. No complaints since then. We also implemented at that facility, we'll start flipping the bleachers over, mowing underneath. Gonna get some concrete pads poured underneath so they can sit on them. Nice, no weeds growing up to the bleachers or anything. We did take down, like Jeff had mentioned last meeting, we took down a few of the sections of fence up there that blew down during a storm. We left the remaining ones, bottom of those posts are still routed. A matter of time before the rest of that fence. Forward to
Which part's still up?
There's no fence down the third base line, just a dugout. And there's people still sit there, no fence.
Yeah.
But there's about 5 sections off the first baseline that are still there, and there's about 5 that are missing. 5 that are still there are wobbly as well.
What do you think for replacement, like a black vinyl?
Black vinyl.
Yeah, because you'll want a fence there, just, well, because of the roadway, you don't want a kid running too far.
I mean, if they hit a ball over there, it's not going fast. It's rolling over there. Parents grab it or catch it, throw it back.
Yeah.
But there is issues with the fence up there. Parks, we have not mowed the lower portion of Valle Springs, continuing to let it grow, even though with dry weather it's slowed down as well. Main Street bathroom, came in one morning, there was one sink on the ground. Nothing else was vandalized, there was no trash, it wasn't disturbed in any way. Jeff walked in and water was spraying the ceiling. Men's room.
And this is where at the
Main Street.
Main Street.
We replaced the sink in there the following day, once we got our hands on one. Got it repaired, opened that bathroom back up. Actually, the bathroom was never closed, we just removed the sink. That's all I got.
Any update on the cameras?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
The cameras have been on back order. Check again.
And no information on who did what? Nothing came forward?
No.
You don't have anything, Steve? All right, thanks, Steve. I guess we're moving to old business. Master plan committee reports. Guess nobody's here.
Nobody's here for the report.
Nobody's here for the fundraising committee.
I can give you guys
I was gonna
a
say-
few updates on some stuff.
Alright.
So I guess it kind of ties into fundraising committee and the movie in the parks.
Mhm.
So we had the first movie in the park last month. Not a big turnout, but I think it's the big beginning of summer. A lot of stuff on. People trying to settle into their routines. And that was for the movie Hook. But this Friday, we have Christmas Vacation docket. So we'll have a movie in the park this Friday, trying to get things going for that. Then Saturday is when they're organizing fireworks. Gary Roth prepared that as a private citizen. He's organizing that. So Saturday, there'll be a lot of people up there, I'm sure.
So they are shooting fireworks in City Park.
That is my understanding.
Did we have it? Did we have it last year? I don't remember. Or was it?
Gary
Was it
organized
2
one
years
I
ago?
was
we
gonna
did
say,
not have it?
I thought we had one last year.
Yeah, was it 2 years ago we did not have it because of COVID? Or
I believe so.
yeah.
Something like that.
So, and then probably hit the report if anybody wants to come out Friday.
What time Friday?
So the movie would probably end up starting about between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. I would
What
say
time do
about
you guys set up?
probably about 7:30.
Okay.
I'll be up there. I might be up there sooner, but 7:30 is probably when we'll tell the public come out. But the movie won't really begin until about 8:45, 9 o'clock, just because of sunlight. So.
We're gonna set up in the same spot. This side, we need to check the electric again.
I went up there with I just had my phone charger with me, and I went and tested the electric that we normally hook up to behind the soccer field, behind the soccer goal. There's one outlet on that panel that works. It's got a black cover on, and when you open up, that's the one that works there. And then up on the hill, just to the right if you're facing it, there's one outlet on that whole post that works. So we should have electricity down there, but I don't know if we need to take a look at the wiring situation going on there.
How many outlets are there?
I think there's like 4 or 5 on the one on the hillside. Just down from where the old sign was that you took down. And then behind the goal, there's at least 2, but I want to say there's 3 or 4 different outlets there, but only one of them on each of those work.
How many do you need?
We just need one, so it should function for us. I went up and tested with just my cell phone charger and was able to get the one to work, so that should be fine. Worst case, we do what we did at the last movie in the park. We had tried plugging in and nothing worked. I don't know if we just didn't try D1. But what we ended up doing was running it off one of the smaller pavilions on the other side. Probably ran about 200 foot of extension cord for it, which
Nice.
it worked out to have it for the few people that showed up. But it's probably not a long-term plan just because tripping hazard, kids like to play a little bit before the movie starts. And we kind of need to set up a little bit sooner so we can make sure everything's aligned properly. So it's probably not the best location to use the north end of the field for that, but we should have what we need for this weekend, but it might be something worth checking out just from a wiring aspect. Because I noticed on one of the boxes too, it doesn't have a cover plate on it. It's like a junction box, and it doesn't have a cover on it, so definitely want to take a look at that.
Lauren had mentioned, I think, in the Facebook group today about Cyril doing pizza that Friday.
Yeah.
I talked to Sam this morning. She said Ciro's looking to contribute some pizzas to serve out of the concession area. You know, we usually set up just a small concession table with candy and, bottled water, cans of soda. And I think one movie last year, Zeros contributed some pizzas for it. And I think that went over fairly well. I think you read that movie. So we're going to try it again this Friday. And then actually, I have been in contact with a potential food vendor for future movies in the park. Someone reached out. They have a food stand that they do like brats and hot dogs and stuff. So he's interested, so we're working out the details there to see if it's a good fit for him to do that.
So it's for sure that Lauren's doing it, or is it something we need to vote on?
She told she was doing it.
That's what she
Okay,
posted.
okay. I can't remember how to post.
Yeah, it's not necessarily anything you had to vote on.
Okay.
Or,
Right.
I mean, unless you guys are wanting to put your foot down on it or something.
I live right across the street from that place. It's an all-go for me.
Yeah. But I think it worked out pretty well. And then, again, any money that comes in through that concession area that the Kurtz family usually helps primarily set up. Anything that...
And contribute.
Yeah, the Kurtz family does so much for that event that we can't possibly thank them enough. But any money that's brought in through that concession area, we deposit into the park fund that's set up through the community foundation.
There you go.
So yeah, pizza can possibly help that.
Okay, doke.
I guess I can give a playground committee update too.
Sure, go ahead.
Trail committee.
Okay.
Nothing to report. Okay, your turn.
Nothing to report, and still waiting till end of mowing season to progress on the Valle Springs plans. And then playground committee, we met with Kendra from Little Tykes Commercial again to revise the playground that we had picked out, maybe try to size down a little bit, just for play ages, and space-wise. So we're waiting on renderings to come back from that and pricing to come back. But it is going to be a challenge to get an actual play set up there that works for the area, because that's a sloped hillside.
Right.
And you really need to have a flat ground for it.
Where was this one going to go?
By the big pavilion. It's this.
Okay,
It's
I think that's what.
in the plan. It has a small
Right,
play
right.
set going up there.
Yeah.
And you really need like a flat area, so we'll have to probably in future playground committee meetings, we'll probably have to have somebody from Alliance, probably you, sit in just to contribute a little bit more to the conversation on that, but we can keep you updated there. But the issue that we'll run into is that it's on a slope hillside, even though it's kind of gradual. As big of an area as we're talking, from this end to that end, you're going to be quite a elevation. So we might have to consider like painting walls if we're going to flatten out an area, or maybe we're just doing swings up there or something like that. It's something we'll have to get bigger players in on the conversation.
Start digging.
Not when we got skid steers available.
But you didn't have one, so.
No. But so we're still waiting on pricing to come back on a smaller play set that might better fit the area. And when we get that, we'll bring it in, guys. Talk it over.
Perfect. Cool. Nothing on bathroom committee?
No, we're probably,
Still waiting on,
That's gonna be next budget year anyway.
yeah,
that's what
it'll be next budget year. And honestly, Alliance has been doing a really good job of keeping up with the restrooms that are
right.
out there. I mean, the floor is a little unsightly, just, it's been painted and chipped, the paint's chipped or whatever. That's really the only issue. They're doing a good job of keeping it clean from what I see, making sure everything's in working order. So the restroom situation isn't the absolute worst, but, it buys us time to get something in there that
Right.
fits the area. But like Happy said, we'd be looking at next budget year anyway.
Do we have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
At our April meeting, we talked about at least looking into the idea of closing or locking the bathrooms at dusk, or at least one of them that had vandalism, and opening them in the morning. We didn't know what that might imply, but we thought it ought to be at least looked at.
Yeah, so we actually talked with brought it up with the Board of Aldermen. We talked about it a little bit, and talked with Chief Police, Alliance, all of them. We're kind of in agreement that if we can get the cameras up, that would probably be the best way to go. Just logistically, I think we thought that locking the restrooms overnight would create a few different problems, just because, especially on the weekends, we wouldn't have anybody there. If police get a call out in the mornings or have a big case,
They can't unlock them.
they can't go and unlock them in the morning, and that's putting on a little bit more responsibility. If somebody's going there to the park with little kids,
Right. I know
it's just
several years ago.
logistically there was a few different things that popped up, but if we're able to do the cameras in those restrooms, we think that would be one major deterrent. Not in the restrooms, at the restrooms.
I think we knew what she meant.
We knew what you were talking about.
Correct.
My YouTube channel.
I just want to go. Yeah, right.
To be clear, not in the restrooms, outside of the restrooms, so that we can see who is approaching the area. So that's where that conversation left off, and I think everybody on the board was kind of in agreement with that.
Yeah, because I know in the past, the police department, they were doing rounds, but like you said, you come into the issue where they go out on a call, whatever.
You have a potential they don't lock, something happens.
Correct.
Yes.
Or they'll get there and it's not unlocked.
Right.
And your scenario,
That would probably help.
I was going to ask, with 4th of July coming up, we don't have any mosquito problems in the park at all? Or have you noticed, like, with all this rain we had, has there been an abundance of mosquitoes?
Come
Or
over and sit on my patio one evening.
is it bad? I have no idea.
Yeah, down at the ball fields, my kids play ball down there.
Yeah.
And my wife hasn't been complaining to me. So.
I'm just curious with a big 4th of July thing coming up we don't spray anymore, do we? We used to do the fogger thing.
No, they haven't done that for, gosh, been quite a while.
As much as I hated those, I appreciated them.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Because when they did the job.
Yeah.
it didn't really.
At least for me, it did, because I
People
didn't know.
perceived it to be that, but it's like now it's, up until yesterday, it dried out.
Right.
So there weren't the pools that.
And all that really did was just put like a little oil film on the top of standing water is all that really did.
News says we're 2 inches down for the month of June, so we have had less rain than normal.
Yeah.
But, earlier we had a lot of rain, and the ponds haven't dried up, but most of them, but
They're low.
they're low. And at my place, it hasn't hit, the mosquito thing hasn't really hit
On the
yet.
hill, though.
Yeah, that
They eat
helps.
me before they get to you.
Fresh meats.
I do. They're
Well, you got that creek water too. in your
that's
back.
called moving. Usually I don't.
I was just curious with all the rain we had, if they laid their eggs during all that time, and now it's.
I mean,
warmed up.
they're not near as bad as what they had been in the past. I'll say
There are some years, where it
some
would
years
be
you can't
horrible
sit
now.
outside.
Pick you up.
It's, they're out there, but I don't think it's unusually.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Do we have any new business?
So the new business is, last month we discussed the lower field.
Right.
Did not approve not cutting the grass. So
Oh,
this
okay.
month you can now approve.
Now we can
the
approve
form.
that. Right. Was everybody else here when we talked about that?
I
I was not.
I wasn't here last month.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this the 4 inches dropping to 3 inches?
No.
No.
That's a
This
whole
is not
different-
Valley, you're talking about Valley
Oh,
Springs.
you're talking about the bottom.
Yeah, this is about abandoning
bottom of Valle Springs
in
Park.
Valle Spring Park. You've got the upper level where the playground and the upper trail is, and then there's a little roadway that goes down in the back and goes to a lower level, and we're talking about abandoning that lower level.
Won't be abandoning the access
Yeah.
road down there. We'll still maintain that. The rear trail, 2 bridges that are basically falling down now, and the maintenance on the yard grass.
What we're letting it do is go back to natural. So
Right.
the trees will pop, eventually trees will pop back up, it'll be just like it is up above.
It's more or less unused.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, from a user's
More
perspective,
liability.
it stays pretty soggy down there in the
No
rains. Mosquito issues.
That would be where they would be.
And then the rain washes out the trail access, the walking trail access that had previously gone down there, and the bridges are broke down, so.
So the new plan is just not to maintain it, just let it go back to its natural habitat, okay.
Now, this would be the trail and the grass.
The rear trail, that's on the back of the property, comes off, it's not even really a trail so much anymore as it's a bunch of roots that are exposed.
I see.
There's
Wash out everything else.
Well, I think we could, I mean, if we wanted to, we could eventually maybe put the trail back if there was interest. But it would be a trail through a young forest rather than a trail through a remote field, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, as it exists right now,
Well, there's nothing wrong with a trail through a young forest.
You need to let it grow back and give it some time to do that.
Okay,
Where are we with levee? You know, there's big talk about this natural area, they're gonna grow it, you know what I'm talking about? Like where the levee,
You're talking about the,
but where the burn pile, the
that's
burn,
the US Fish and
yeah, where,
Wildlife.
has that gone anywhere, or has it been? Still working on it. Sure it's pretty over there.
right, I can work on that if
Go for it.
you are interested. The thing was to convey some of the property outside the levee that is owned by the city / third levee district board. And that's still the plan, but we had to survey it because we needed to not cross out, but we needed to make sure that we didn't give away property that might be needed by the levee board for
right.
borrow for repairs to the levee. So that is being surveyed, and I don't know where that is. I've seen stakes out there. Apparently it's making progress. In the meantime, however, a recent conversation with the Fish and Wildlife people, who, by the way, have established an office in town, which is really good news.
Up in the right direction.
Step in the right direction for sure. And they are maintaining the trees, which are on property that we are not intending, as far as I know, to give them, but they're maintaining the trees on the inside of the levee. But we've had several public outings there, which have been very successful. And people, we've walked through the trees to the river. It's been very popular. People love it. They saw birds. But not really very user-friendly at this point. The levee itself is, and there's some signs, but we'd really like to get a trail that goes out to the river. And I think that'll be facilitated if the Fish and Wildlife Service actually owns it and can help, design it and engineer it. However, they've got an issue that I wasn't aware of recently. They have a rule that they can't take even gifts of land unless it's within a mile of another piece of their property. In this particular,
Oh, really?
yeah, it's good. I think we can probably get a waiver of that if we do it while Roy is still, our senator or something. I think we could, but they've got a bigger project now. They're trying to expand the refuge. It would be part of the Middle Mississippi National Wildlife Refuge, which is everything from the mouth of the Missouri to the mouth of the Ohio. And they've got about 7 or 8 pieces of property, and this would be one. It would be very small, but it would be an important one because of the proximity to the town and the opportunities for public exposure and programming and all that stuff. I think they see the value of it. But they're sort of hung up right now on this bigger project, and they're trying to get that approved through Congress to expand the boundary of refuge. And I'm worried because, we've got the agreement of the city, we've got the interest of the mayor, we've got the Board of Aldermen expressing approval, we've got the third levy board on board. It's sort of a magic moment, and I'm just afraid we're gonna, I'm afraid we're gonna slip out of our grasp if we don't do something. So this is a conversation I intended to have with Happy anyway. So now you know. I don't know. I mean, we're doing everything right, but I think somehow or another we got to jiggle it, make it happen.
Until I get the plans set, take it to levy district, get them to approve it, take it through planning and zoning, we still don't have property to convey. So once we get those plans drawn up, then we can move forward on our side of it, and then maybe that gives us the Fish and Wildlife Service along. They're also looking at it that they don't want to take new property. Government doesn't want to expand. That's one of the things that's going to hold them up. They keep up with that thought process.
Well, that's true, but except they want to expand this big. I mean, they're talking, they wouldn't buy everything bluff to bluff, but they want the authority to have property bluff to bluff all up and down the river. Well, okay, that's nice, but our project should not be held up until that bigger project is approved. So I think once we get our ducks in a row, I think we should run over to our senator's office or...
He's been working on it, because he worked on it with the expanding the National Historical Park, so that we can transfer the Welcome Center to the Park Service. So they haven't voted on that yet. I think it's going to be the same thing with this property. It's going to take an act of Congress. Technically, it will be an act of Congress, but getting them to do that is take time.
Well, he doesn't have a whole lot of time. And we know he's interested, and we don't know that the new senator will be as interested. So that's it. More of an answer than you really need.
That's a good answer.
It's in the works. And here's the good news. People really like it. They even like what we've got, which is just a sign and stuff. They still use it. They're still out there. But if we can get them into the forest and out to the river, that's the magic moment. Whenever we lead a hike down in there, we did the French thing and the Audubon celebration. It was wonderful. Really liked it. But come through those trees and see the river. That's the moment.
That's one thing you really got to get, because I've tried going back in there. Of course, I've went like fall and the spring, and almost need waders on to get back through there.
It all depends, We've had good luck. We didn't even have bugs to speak of, and I mean, I'm sure there will be days when it'd be mosquito heck, but it's surprising how negotiable it is once you just go down in there and walk. Basically, we walk along the edge of that field out to where one of those wing dikes are, which is where you see the most wildlife anyway.
There's a ton of deer. I mean,
almost always you see them in that field.
And they're all like little babies. I mean, I'm talking about like 15, 20. Find their refuge like long. And I mean, you'll see them, and I take my dog for a walk. Like when I leave here, I'll go do that. Nice and cool, and you'll see everything.
I saw a raccoon and 2 deer yesterday on the levee.
We saw a track of a river otter right on the river, sand next to the river, which was pretty exciting. But there's beaver, obviously beaver, and all kind of birds.
What's really interesting is that when we had all that rain, it literally made little pools of water. We had all these geese with a little, just made a home until the water dried up and they had to go somewhere else. But that's pretty cool.
It's a great asset, but it hasn't realized its full potential yet.
Well, I can tell you that out of every 10 people you talk to, 5 of them have no idea it exists. I mean, when I tell people, I took pictures one day with a bunch of deer, and I was like, where is that? At the levee? What levee are you talking about? So I explained it to them. Next thing I know, they started taking their dogs, and they started going up and walking. They told more people, so it spreads out. But
I mean, I was on a bike ride yesterday.
most people
I posted
don't
some
know.
pictures, and some people messaged me like, where's that at? Levee.
Is the path to the river?
Oh, yeah, you go down to
Well,
Hazen Street, like, going to the
you
city
make your
center.
own path. I mean, you kind of walk along the downstream edge of that one field, and you can go into the forest, but you don't want to go in the field because you're the crops, but go in just inside the forest, and there were several people who were lifelong residents. I had no idea
they don't.
this was here. And they were really excited about it. So I think it's just waiting. Fully.
I think when you draw the picture of one of these days, you can fish here. People get to the levee and
Well,
go.
that's what
There's-
Vern Bone
How is fish going to get to, they don't understand
gotta
that
walk
there's
over the river.
more to it than that. But that's the beauty of what their imagination can take them to.
One of the advantages of the drought is that you could actually get down there and do surveying.
Right,
We
right,
had
That's
looked at
right.
this back in February and March, and it was raining so much in March, April,
right,
May.
right. There's no way.
Couldn't get in there to do the
Right.
surveying. So
Yeah.
now things can speed up.
Yeah.
We need to have a constructed path. I think we need to be real careful that it doesn't get over-engineered so that it's a road, but, enough to walk on a flat surface,
Yeah.
but hopefully narrow enough that you'll have a tree canopy over you.
We get tourists in the shop, always want to know where the river is. So I just send them down to the ferry. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it would be neat with some of the outdoorsy people I have, just send them there.
I know.
But on the other side of that levee, I don't know what's there.
Well, the thing about the
Make sure
ferry
they
is that
park.
when you get to the ferry,
Yes.
you can just stand there and look.
Right.
If you send them to this, they can actually park and walk.
And walk to it.
Yeah.
Wander and see.
So if they go
nature.
like today, they'll see a path?
No.
Is it-
That was one of my biggest things is that
kinda go down
you
the-
almost have to draw a path for people, maybe like
Right.
arrows to tell them where to go.
Because you kind
I
of
have gone.
you go down the
when it was
one
dry.
little
Yeah.
road
Yeah.
like
I go all
thing,
the time.
and then it goes kind of back through the woods and curves through, then along another little field over here, and
Oh, well, yeah, you could take
Go
the
that-
farmer's
yeah,
road.
the farmer's road.
That's another good,
That's the
but
way I was
that's
trying
one of the wettest places of
I
it.
know, I discovered.
You gotta be really dry. But, or you can go with the idea that you're gonna be waiting, and then it's okay, but most people don't. But, yeah, that's a nice path, and you go and you see trees, and then you see the opening, but
Make sure they park and don't take their vehicles on,
oh, right,
Right.
authorized vehicles.
They gotta park, they gotta park down by the
I've been down there, there's been a lot of people driving on there,
Oh, really?
and probably need to find a way to make that sign authorized vehicles. Yeah, no side by side.
they don't realize they're doing
Pedestrian
something
traffic and
bad, because they
bicycles.
say, they wave, like.
Oh, they don't have an idea.
They don't.
It's one lane, and the more
I said,
vehicles
"Don't
you
you
get on
read
there,
the
the higher risk.
Yeah.
It'd be even worse if they got off the levee on the
Oh,
other
God.
side, then we'd really have a problem, but I haven't seen that yet.
So if you tell anybody, just make sure they, the nice little parking lot there, they can
Yeah.
park and walk up or ride their bike up.
Are there any like brochures in town or anything for that yet?
Nope.
Not yet. Oh. Well, I was wanting
I
to do
can't
something
even
like
get brochures for the Middle Mississippi Wildlife Refuge,
that. Okay. So
but
it's like-
they're all short budget, blah, blah,
Right.
blah.
Once the cross-country season gets, that was one of our routes. We start at our weight room, and they get on, like, by the brush burning, and they get on there. They'll run all the way to Marina and come around. They love it. It's a beautiful,
They put a finer grade of gravel on the top, so it's easier to
yeah,
run on.
the kids don't complain.
They're all right.
They're fine. We
Yeah,
don't,
we
we
used to
do-
run the levee all the
yeah.
time.
I walk it.
And I have seen a lot of
Maybe I
people
should,
that will go to
maybe I
the
should get my
marina,
bicycle out. Maybe
and they will walk all the way
That's what I
around.
like.
It's a
is
good
the bike
walk,
tire.
but people have
3
been,
miles.
yeah, I mean, people have been doing that.
From that parking area to the marina, that's 3 miles?
No, but
No.
to do the whole circuit,
The loop.
Oh, okay.
the loop.
About an hour, for me, it's about an hour walk from my house
Exactly.
up,
Me
go
too.
down Division Street and come back through
saw-
Green Tree.
It's like 3 days. I do good to make the loop at the city park.
Yeah.
You can do a short version.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay. Steve, I want to jump back a little bit. Like, when we talked about the sidewalk there on the Jefferson side of Main Street Park, did we decide we were just going to wait till after we got done with like the mowing and all that stuff to do anything with that?
on the side of the Main Street bathroom.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Jefferson Street.
Yeah, I mean, we've got it measured out. There was one issue we were trying to resolve. There was a utility pole
Right.
in the middle of the sidewalk.
Right.
Or it would be. So at some point, we need to come up with an end point. So if somebody would like to look at that and tell me, if you want to terminate it, how far in front of that utility pole,
Why can't they just go around it like they do it everywhere else?
maybe that's the answer. That's
Seems to be what they've done everywhere else here in town. That's what I was just curious. But I just didn't know if the whole project we were going to wait till after mowing season, which would make more sense.
yeah, and it
Give
would
you
be.
guys time, you know.
But the end point would be the question.
Happy. We'll put that on your shoulders.
Corner to corner.
You got it.
There you
Get a
go.
ramp down.
Did I make it extra wide around the utility pole?
Probably.
Sorry.
When we were talking about the cameras earlier, would that information be released to the public?
Yes, we'll put in the...
I mean, is this something we will tell people, beware, we have cameras?
There are signs there.
Yeah.
Okay.
There'd
We'll
be
do signs in the-
posted, you know.
We'll probably have something in the paper. Maybe public knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was just curious if we will have to tell them ahead of time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You have to-
Will that make them a target for vandalism?
They'll be on camera if they try.
Not if they rip the whole thing out.
Well,
Well, they're supposed to be- I think they're gonna
it's
put 'em
a
up high.
DVR system, essentially, so that DVR is going to be locked away. They would,
But if they
Really
do
have
so,
to
we will
do-
be able to find out.
right.
yeah. So they can mess with the camera, but it doesn't stop them recording as they approach.
Right.
So
All right, back to new business. I guess we need a motion for the field down at Valle Springs Park. Let it go back to...
I'll make a motion, we let nature take its course or not.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry.
you're fine.
What?
You're fine. I'm good to go.
All right, anything else?
I'll touch on a couple things. So I was talking to Happy earlier with John Connard resigning from the board. The presidency of the board will be open, so probably next meeting, we'll probably have to look at reappointing a president or officers or whatever. I think Happy's going to double check with City Hall to make sure of if there's a timeline in the future of like when, see with the Board of Aldermen, every election we reinstate or we elect a new president from that board. So the way y'all's terms work, I'm not sure what that schedule is, but there probably needs to be an annual thing. So Happy's going to check on that. But next meeting, I would expect that we'll probably have that on the agenda for you guys to vote. So just keep that in mind. And then the other thing I was going to bring up, the month of July is actually Parks and Recreation Month nationwide. And what a lot of other Parks and Recreation departments and boards do is they try to recognize the people working within Parks and Recreation in their communities. And so I was wondering if I were to come up with a questionnaire of sorts and send it to you guys, if you guys would be interested in filling that out to where I could maybe highlight you guys on the social media pages. Because I think one question I run into sometimes is who's even on the park board. Unless they're watching the meetings, they don't see your faces, they don't know your names. We haven't been in the newspaper recently that I've seen. So I'm trying to figure out how we can better establish this board with the community. And, you know, so they know who's serving their community, they know who to talk to. So I didn't know if that's something you guys would be interested in, if I emailed out a questionnaire.
I'm fine.
You know, just like what motivates you to participate in the park board, what would you like to see, how long have you been on the park, you know, just simple questions like that, just a get to know you thing that I could maybe highlight you all on the social media pages in a way that lets people know who's here. If anybody's opposed, just let me know, and I won't single you out. But I'd also like to highlight like the it's family with our volunteers.
Yes.
Alliance, and, you know, especially Jeff and Bart and the work that they do for our parks and maintaining them. So just different players that kind of add to the community with Parks and Recreation. July seems like a perfect month to highlight that because it is Parks and Recreation Month. If anybody's opposed, just let me know.
I'm not opposed, but my personal feeling is that we should more emphasis on the staff than on volunteer board, because that, those are the people that are actually doing the work that the people will see.
Yeah, and I had thought that too as well. It's just a long month, and I can highlight quite a few people, and because with Alliance, it is primarily Bart and Jeff, but we might be able to ask Steve some questions and highlight him, or even Ron if he's willing, or anybody in Alliance. But I thought also getting your faces out there, because one of the questions that I think that sometimes do is, you know, who's on the board, what do we do, like how do we, I don't know if, aside from engage fully.
The fact that, I mean, Barb and I have been here. You've been quite a bit.
And I've had
But the
people
fact that we
approach
have
me.
people come and go,
Yeah,
it's really easy to lose track.
exactly.
Right.
We've had
Like,
a
I'm
lot of
approached all the
turnover.
time, I know Barb is approached all the time, but then they even ask me, who's on the board now?
Right.
Because, like we said, people come and go, and people don't have any idea who to talk to. So I would say it would be a good idea.
So I can come up with something, I can send it out as an email. You guys can just get it back to me whenever, and if you want to send a picture along with it, you can. If you want me to take your picture, I don't mind meeting up with that, just because it would be on, like, Facebook or something like that.
Picture's kind of old.
And, you know, so, and I would run the post by you guys before I would post it so that everybody has control over what's out there about it. Yeah, well, they won't even really know it's me posting. I just posted from the St. Genevieve Parks page, so.
You want to make sure you're here next month, because if you're not here, you're going to be the president. Just letting you know, don't be skipping out.
Yeah.
Dang.
So that's all I've got.
Anybody else have anything else? No?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
It's on you guys.
No, I'm not looking at you.
7:42.